I'm having a day, okay? I'm having a day with the hair. Here I am opening up a new video with a complaint about my hair. Not only am I not feeling my own hair today, I have Oompa Loompa hands again. But look at them. Look at them. Look at these. What are these? These are horrendous. Look at the palms. Oh, look at that. I don't want to talk about it. All right, let me put my fucking hair up. What? Oh, ugh. Oh, what's that? Is this alright? I don't know. I think that's better. Anyway, hello. Welcome. Oh my god, nah, it's not better. It's not better because I got itchy fucking nose. Ugh. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sitting down and filming my favourite standalones of all time. I recently did my favourite series, and I said in that video that I do these yearly. Last year I did my top 5. We've got more than 5 today. And I just kind of go through my favorites. I like to do them yearly because sometimes I find new favorites that I like to add to my favorites, things like that. Yeah, so we're just gonna chat about the books that I fucking love. I, to be honest, haven't found many books this year. Let's have a real deep conversation, doll. I'm gonna bring it in for this one. It's not a slump, because I can read. But this year, I am not reading a lot. The amount of books I have started and not finished, just in this week, well, this week and last week, I started Blame It on the Vodka, Love and Other Words, and My Arrow. I'm at 20% with all the books. And I just don't have this urge to finish them. I, typically find a book, I like it, I get to 20%, I'm like, oh, I'm digging it. And then, I don't want to put it down until it's finished. I can put absolutely any book down at the moment and not return to it. It could be written by anyone. Each book could be about a different trope. I don't know what the fuck's up. I just am struggling to read, man. With that said, there has been a handful of books this year that I've read in one sitting or whatnot, and I'm like, oh my god, vibe, love it. But it's just not happening with every book. And I don't know if it's me. Well, it's definitely a me thing. I think it's a me thing. I know there's a lot of readers out there, especially in the romance world, really struggling at the moment, and I don't know what's in the waters. Also, before we get into the video, I have a really boring background at the moment. Usually I have a plant or a table or something in this corner. But eventually I'm going to build my IKEA bookshelves, the new ones, to extend that bookshelf I've got over there on this wall. And part of this bookshelf will be in the background, and I'll be able to angle you better. At the moment there's just a couch here, and it's just a white wall with a couch. It's boring as. So until I get that bookshelf up and running, we're just doing a plain background. But I'm so ready for a different background. And it's annoying because I love sitting on the floor. I sit on the floor. I have heaps of comments from people saying how small are you? Because your door handle is right there. It's because I'm sitting on the floor. There's a couch there. There's a chair there. I'm that bitch. I like sitting on the floor. And it's really getting hard being pregnant to sit on the fucking floor, which is so annoying because it's where I like to sit and film. Anyway, I'm rambling today. Let's get into the video. Let me go through all my favorites. These are my bitches. A lot of these I've reread. I love these books with my whole entire heart. I wanted to start off this video with one book that is not romance. It's not a romantic book in the slightest. It's a psychological fiction. I read it last year. It is super popular. And it blew my fucking mind. And it was one of those books that really, I don't know, it fucked with me mentally, it fucked with my emotions. I couldn't read anything for days after. My mind was just spiraling, and it was just such a good read. But I do not suggest you going into this book if you're looking for a romance. I suggest this book to those people that want something really different, that want something that's going to stir up some emotions. It's my favorite, one of my favorite books of all time, and I'm talking about My Dark Vanessa. Bitch, when I read this book, I ended up doing a whole video dedicated to this book, and I jumped on Instagram and I was ranting and raving about it. I remember getting 20% into the book and having to come out of the bedroom, come to the lounge room, stop my boyfriend's gaming session. And I was like, nah, bitch, put the remote down. Put the console remote down. We need to have a fucking chat. And I ranted to him about it. So this is about a girl who is in her mid-30s or early 30s. She ends up going on Facebook one day, I think it is, and she finds this post from a student who used to go to the same school that she went to. And this student is claiming a certain teacher touched her inappropriately and tried to initiate a legal relationship with her. And she's kind of coming forth with her story. Now, when Vanessa comes across this post, she's utterly shocked because one, she had an illegal, very illegal relationship with this same teacher when she was 15 years old, and she thought she was the only one. And still to this day, she does not see a problem with their relationship, and she still considers this teacher her first love. So that's where the book starts, and it's like dual timelines. So you go past, present, and when you go back to the past, you read like young Vanessa going to this boarding school, having these interactions with this teacher, and oh my God. There was definitely parts of this book that I could not fucking stomach, but I read through it and I pushed through. It made me physically ill. And I'm not someone that gets triggered by much. But I think the difference with this book to every other book that I've read, especially when it's a student-teacher relationship, like this was written in such a realistic light. And this is what happens when illegal relationships between minors and teachers come about. And also it's a psychological fiction. So the author made a point of like putting in certain descriptions about the male character, like the teacher, when it came to certain sex scenes and stuff, that would stop you from believing that this is romantic and see it for what it truly is. So yeah, there's sex scenes and stuff like that are very graphic. As I said, if you have triggers to this type of subject, I would not suggest you reading it, but it blew my mind. The writing was amazing. I loved every minute of it, even though it was a hard book to stomach. Even though it was a hard book to stomach, I like to read books that are like that. That's why I've always gravitated towards darker romances, because I like being uncomfortable. And that's why like dark romance is my like niche, I guess. But this book, if you're looking for a wild time, but it's not a good time, bitch, this one's where it's at. I'm not deep diving into that genre. I'm always going to be a romance bitch, but that is one of my favorite standalones. I couldn't be someone that read that genre often because I would end up having to go to the therapist quite often. Because even for me, like I read that and I was like, there was so many light bulb moments for me. I feel like it's just a book every woman should read, honestly. Okay, now onto the romance. The first book I'm going to mention is this beauty right here, Archer's Voice, Hun. Okay, girlfriend, if you have not read Archer's Voice yet, please do. I was one of those bitches that, you know, put it on the back burner for so long because it is quite a like popular mainstream romance, and I just don't, I don't rush to read a mainstream romance when it's been hyped up so much. But I read this at the end of last year, and I even annotated the fuck out of this one. Like, I literally wrote notes. Oh my God. This whole book just had a vibe. I was transported into the book. I was in the book. Me and Archer, baby, we were a thing. Yes, we were. I was trying to swoop him up, you know. Swoop him up and cradle him and just keep him for myself. So this is about this girl that ends up like running away from a town that she lives in because something went down, and she moves to this like remote small town type of thing, and she bumps into this man at the supermarket who gets her all flustered, hot and bothered. She like drops her bag or something and all her groceries fall out. I think like tampons do from memory, and this man comes over and helps her. She's like trying to start conversation with him, and he just doesn't say anything. He just turns his back to her and walks away, and it turns out he's actually mute. And she continues to try and reach out to this man and build a relationship with him, like a friendship. So this is a friends to lovers. Archer is, even though he's mute and he cannot speak, the most beautiful soul that has ever graced this planet. Loved this book. It was emotional. It was really steamy. I didn't think it was going to be as steamy as what it was. Like, I definitely had so many flutters, vagina flutters, when reading this book. And I just fucking loved it, honestly. And I just know that it's going to be one of those books that I'll come back to, that I'll reread multiple times in my lifetime and love it just as much as the first time. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. The reason why this is one of my top favorite standalones of all time is because it was something so different for me. I'm not a historical romance reader, and this is what this is marketed as, like a historical romance. It just took me on a wild ride. I love Evelyn Hugo, like, as a character. Do I agree with her and a lot of the choices she made? No, but I can admire the boss bitch that she truly is. I also have a little bit of a love for like old school Hollywood, like Marilyn Monroe, and like this book gave me that vibe. So it's about this young girl, I'm pretty sure she's from Puerto Rico, and she moves to Hollywood because she wants to be a star, and that's where the story starts. Each kind of chapter is a section of her life relating to every relationship she had with all of her 7 husbands. So she was married 7 times, and each part of the book kind of goes through the relationship and what was going on in Evelyn's life at that time. There was a lot in this book that shocked me. There was a lot in this book that didn't shock me. If you do go into this and you haven't read it, just keep in mind that it's 1950s old school Hollywood. Like, the world is so different to what it is now. So there's a lot of racism, sexism, domestic violence, things like that in this book. But oh my god, I loved it. I read it in one sitting. Next up, we have Sweet Dandelion by 𝐒𝐿 Smeltzer. It's one of my favorite book covers of all time. Sweet Dandelion is definitely a slow burn. I'm not a massive fan of slow burn reads, but this one got me. I also found this super emotional. The smut was there. I loved the relationship. It's about this young girl who is a victim of gun violence. She witnesses a school shooting, which is just fucking wild, honestly. Anyway, she moves schools after this trauma, and ends up having to see a school guidance counselor. This is a bit of a taboo book too, because the relationship in this book is between the guidance counselor and the heroine herself. And yeah, it just takes you through her healing process, the relationship that blooms between these two people, and even though it's so wrong, it's so right, and it's so beautiful, and it's so well written. So if you're looking for like a really good slow burn with a good plot, deep meaning, good smart, and all of that, this book just gives you all the feels, and it's, yeah, just one of my favorites, and I love it with my entire heart. Verity by 𝐒𝐈𝐿𝐿. Now, I feel like anytime someone does like a top favorite romance video, there's got to be a Colleen Hoover book in there. And of course mine is Verity. This book ruined me when I read it, and still to this day sometimes I think about it and I just remember staying up super late in the middle of the night. And because it's a romantic suspense novel, it was giving me a lot of thriller vibes. So when I was like reading it in the middle of the night, there were certain chapters and certain parts of the story that was freaking me out, and I'd have to like quickly shut the book and like try and get to sleep because I was like scared. But it's about this girl who is a up-and-coming author. She gets hired to ghostwrite one of her favorite authors' stories. The author is currently writing like a series and is unable to complete it, so her husband hires a ghostwriter to finish off the project, and she gets hired. She ends up traveling to her favorite author's house to study her, to study all her manuscripts, learn how to write like her, and kind of like become her. And while she's there, she ends up stumbling across this like biography that her favorite author wrote about her life. So she decides to read it. And when she reads it, she's like really taken back by what she stumbles across in this biography. And amongst all that, she's growing closer and closer with her favorite author's husband. The ending will throw you through a loop, bitch. The ending, I was just like, hang on a minute, what? Because it's one of those endings where you kind of get to decide. It's so clever, and it's like a decent book. Like, it's not a huge book, so you can read it in like one sitting. I suggest you read this spooky season, or when it's like cloudy, late at night. Like, if you want to get the full vibes for this book, read it when the weather is trash. I'm not going to ramble on about a lot of these books that I'm going to mention now, just because I've mentioned them so many fucking times on my channel. But Hush Hush by Lucia Franco. You guys, Pretty Woman is my favorite movie of all fucking time. I was obsessed with Pretty Woman when I was a kid. Probably not a good movie for a kid to watch, but it was one of my favorite movies. And it still is to this day. And Hush Hush just gives me Pretty Woman set in New York City, modern, like Gossip Girl, elite vibes. What more could you want? Like, if you want a trashy, good book that is just gonna devour your fucking soul, capture your attention, and take you on a wild ride, this is where it's at. So it's about Aubrey. She's in New York City living her absolute best life with her best friend, and she's currently at college. She decides to become a elite escort to get some cash money, baby, because her friend Natalie has suggested to her that she does so, because Natalie is also in the industry. There's number one rule, and that is not to fall in love with your clients, where Aubrey does, and she falls in love with her 52-year-old client, James Riviera. Like, honestly, just read it if you haven't already. So many people come to my channel and read it. Like, I literally got a message this morning and was like, I just read Hush Hush, and oh my god, like, yes bitch, read Hush Hush. There is a little novella after this, but I treat it as a standalone. And it's one of my favorite covers of all time, because hello, more women on the covers please. I don't want to see shirtless men, bitch. I want to see naked pretty women. We've got Credence by Penelope Douglas. This is Taboo. But the whole vibe, like, I haven't been able to find a book with the same aesthetic. I did kind of get a similar aesthetic from Archer's Voice, but not quite. Like, it gave me the same vibes, but it just wasn't Credence. You know what I mean? Different plot, obviously, but, like, it just wasn't the same. This girl who ends up losing her parents, and she moves in with her, like, step uncle, who she's never met, who she's not related to, and his two sons. And she gets romantically involved with all three, and it's a great fucking time, obviously. But they're in the mountains during, like, snow season in Colorado. So they're, like, in a fucking cabin for months on end, just the four of them. Bitch, please, like, are you joking me? Like, send me to the cabin, you know what I mean? Send me to the cabin. Not while I'm pregnant, but, like, after. Like, you know what I mean? Like, send me to the cabin. Send me on a romantic weekend getaway to the cabin, you know what I mean? I couldn't stop thinking about it. I remember being in the shower washing my hair, and I was just like, Credence. Forefront of my mind. Like, I couldn't get away from the book. I loved it. The Sicko is one of my favorite standalones. You guys know this. It's from Amo Jones. But it's not my favorite Amo Jones book. But the reason why I always put it in these types of videos is because it was my first Amo Jones book, and it fucking rocked my world, bitch. I was just like, what the fuck did I just read? Like, I could not grasp what I had read. And I had never come across a book such as this. And I had never come across an author that wrote dark romance the way Amo does. And I think if you're an Amo fan, you totally know what I'm trying to say here. Like, Queen Bee shit, you know what I mean? But Amo's style of writing is a particular style, and not everyone's going to like that, and I understand that. You either ride or die for her writing and her stories, or you're not a fan at all. So this is about two foster siblings who blur the lines, baby. And the hero ends up leaving step-sissy behind, comes back a few years later, and he's joined an MC club. And it's kind of like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just like this messed up situation where she's like madly in love with him and he's into her, but like they're foster siblings, plus he's like this badass like dude who's nicknamed fucking Sicko, and all this crazy shit happens. And it's honestly just a buck wild time. I always put it in these videos though, because I'm like, if it wasn't for that book, I would never have discovered Amo when I did. Don't Kiss the Bride by Carrie and Cole. Guys, I am waiting for Carrie and Cole to drop some bangers. I've read all her books now, and I'm like, Carrie, I need you. I miss your books. So Don't Kiss the Bride is one of my favorite marriage of convenience stories. It's a bit of a slow burn and it's a fat one, but it's just beautiful. This young girl, her family's fucked, okay? And she doesn't have the support and love and the proper roof over her head that she deserves. She ends up meeting this construction worker one day because her car breaks down outside the front of the house that he's currently working on, and he comes over and helps her with her car. And from that point on, they just end up in all these situations where he's helping her. Like, he always ends up being around to help her, and they end up building this really beautiful relationship. He offers to marry her, to get her out of the house that she's living in and into his, so he can support her. He just wants to give her a proper chance at life. It's not romantic at all. Massive age gap, like 18 and 36, I think it is. And she agrees. And obviously it's her own room, they get married and stuff like that. But once they're living together and after they've gotten married, the lines of their relationship begin to, you know, blur. And she ends up having feelings for him. And he ends up having feelings for her. But she's willing to admit it. He not so much, because he's really worried about the age gap and just, yeah, the differences between where they both are in their lives. Oh, it was so good. Honestly, still to this day, I'm like, oh, you're such a fucking banger. Oh, I want to reread. Honestly, it's so good. Carrie Ann is just like top level. My nail just broke. Not a vibe. Lucky last one, we have No Tomorrow by Carrie Ann Cole. So we've got 2 books in here. This is another standalone. This one here, I've already spoken about a million fucking times. Literally recently in the surprise pregnancy trope, I recommended this book. But it's about this girl called Piper. She stumbles across this dude in a park one day when she's on her lunch break eating her lunch. He's a homeless musician, and, you know, shit just happens. And they fall in love. And then live happily ever after. No. There's no happily ever after, bitch. Everything that could go wrong goes wrong, and you're just like, what the actual fuck, Carrie Ann? What kind of heartbreaking crack did you insert into this fucking book? Because I am not okay. I was not okay for days after reading this. But Blue and Piper, it's just a relationship that will always stay with me, and I just love it. And if I could pay someone to wipe my memory so I could reread this again like it's the first time, I would sell my soul for that. Oh my god. Stop. I can't feel my fucking legs. What the fuck? Look at me down here on the screen, not being able to feel my own fucking legs. Jesus Christ. You know what's so funny? Someone commented on my video the other day. I'm like massaging my foot. And was like, can you please stop cursing? Like, why do you curse so much? And I'm just like, bitch, you've obviously never stepped foot in Australia. Don't ever come here. If you don't like curse words and swear words and, you know, trashy gutter talk, then I wouldn't come here, because 99% of us talk like this. All of us, all ages, bitch. And the ones that don't, you don't want to be friends with them. Sometimes come across like Aussies on TikTok, and they're like complaining about the stereotype that we all like talk like trash and we swear a lot. And they're like, not all of us. And I'm like, yeah, you're like the snobby, boring ones that no one likes. Alright, that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, thumbs it up. Let me know in the comments below a fucking banging standalone, bitch. Like, what's your favorite standalone? Don't give me a fucking series. Your favorite standalone. Number 1. Like, what is it? I want to know. I want to know. I'm a nosy Nelly. I want to know. And, you know, if I haven't read it, maybe I'll give it a go. I don't know what to do, guys. Should I keep reading Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren, or continue My Arrow by Saffron Kent? Like, I do like My Arrow. It's just, it's such a big book. I'm like, bitch, why do you write huge books? And I really need to finish Blame It on the Vodka, but I'm just not in the mood. Like, I don't know. Tell me what to do. Okay, thumbs up this video if you liked it. Hope you have a good day. Thank you for watching. Means well to me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.